Welcome back, everybody, to Hypnotica with Chantel and Melissa. Today, we are talking about connecting to your body. So, Melissa, what do you got to say about this topic?
Oh my goodness, y'all. So we were talking before we started recording and talking about mindfulness at first, and then trying to figure out like what direction we wanted to go in. My my experience with mindfulness has mostly been through my body. And I work for a clothing store, and when I'm in the fitting room, it's my favorite place to be because I love it's an opportunity to connect with people in a deeper, more intimate way. Not all the time, but there's some things that come into the fitting room that I call it fitting room therapy, basically. But there've been plenty of times where we mostly serve female-bodied humans, but women will come in and they'll try on things and they'll come out of the fitting room and they'll say to me, "Does this fit?" And it's happened often enough to where I went to my manager and I'm like, I don't understand what this is, or like why this is such a common question. And she said, well, people are so disconnected from their bodies. It's like, what? I mean, I know most of us are, yes. A lot of us weren't taught what it was to connect to our bodies. So with that, I calmed down. I was like, okay, everyone's having their unique experience. And if you're disconnected from your body, then you don't know if something fits. So my go-to question for people is always, well, how does it feel? And that's when I would watch them and kind of gauge their reaction. And if I get like the blank stare, then I'm like, okay, we gotta give some directions. Like, sit down. Can you breathe? Walk around. How does it feel when you bend over? Like getting them to move around and engage with themselves to see if they can tune into, does this work or not? It's interesting to see who can answer my questions eventually, who answers them with grace, who answers them with anger, who answers them with insecurity and irritation. And it's hard for me to not take it personally because I'm like, I'm just trying to help and I've got my own stuff, right? But just to, again, with the mindfulness, with this too, with both people, myself and the customer, of holding that person with as much presence and grace as I can muster in the moment. But yeah, I was seeing the depth of this. I've been seeing it in the last few months that I've worked at the store. Um, Hang on. I was trying to see if I'm hearing something else. Chantel, do you have something to add to this?
I just love that you're doing therapy at the store. Like, I would love to go to a clothing store and get that kind of like kinesthetic or somatic therapy where you're like, and
Yes.
and it just like opened up all the tabs for me because that's who I am. I'm tabs girl.
Yes. Yes.
One of them was like when I put something in my closet on, how it makes me feel like. And even before I put something on, if I'm feeling like amazing that day or it's my birthday and like I'm just feeling bright and sparkly and like I wear all the colors and my kids look at me like, what are you what are you wearing? And I'm just like, but I feel this. Um,
Yes.
yeah. So I feel like connecting to our bodies means like kind of like tuning in and seeing how we feel and seeing how we want to feel, like asking ourselves a question and listening for the answer and then like kind of just slowly pivoting towards what we prefer. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's something that has to be practiced and learned, but once it is, that is like a very helpful habit. And I mean that goes full circle back to like trying on an outfit, trying on something new, right? When we can try on some of these ideas, like tuning in, asking ourselves how we feel and how we want to feel is kind of like trying on an outfit. um, you know we can just learn something helpful, try it, see if it works for us, And if it does, then that's the outfit for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, definitely. Yeah, a lot of people too. This is like more of a fun thing to witness is when people are stepping out of their comfort zone. They're like, I don't normally wear this color, but I like the shape of this, or I don't normally wear this shape, but I like the color. Or if they ask, they're like, well, this is what I always pick, but look at me. Like, what would you suggest? Those are always super fun. It becomes an art project.
And isn't it art, everything we do in a way? Like not
Mm-hmm.
just what we wear, but how we speak, the tone of our voice, like how we drink our water. Like everything can be art if you
Mm-hmm.
let it.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Um, just thinking about like tuning in and connecting to the body. I have felt that dance has been my number one self-care thing. Like I know everyone has their different thing that they like. Some people like to go to the gym, some people like to write, or like everyone has their top thing, but dance is definitely like when I can move my body to the music, and it's just I feel like I can tune everything else out and just be so super present and just feel. And like, yeah, it's expressed, I feel like, throughout the day. If I dance in the morning, like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it just carries with me this kind of playfulness. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes, I do the same thing. So, absolutely, I totally get what you're saying. And it's been more of a recent development for me, as we all know. Writing is number one. But dance, especially not trying to make it any kind of thing, but just listening to my body and moving in the way that she wants to move, even if it looks weird, feels weird, whatever, but just like I'm gonna close my eyes, we're gonna listen to this music and just move how my body wants to move. That has been extraordinary for me to move anger. Like my anger sometimes wants to be expressed through sensuality, and the fastest way I can get there is through dance. Um, like I feel like I'm taking up space when I'm dancing. And I think that my anger needs that space. It needs to take up space. So it feels like, yeah, it feels very healthy and healing to move my anger like that. But it's not always moving anger. Sometimes it just feels good to do it. So I just dance. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want to.
I have loved moving music into the bedroom, whether I'm by myself or with a partner. Like it's a game changer
Hmm.
because like you can move to the music and you can tune into your body. And like I used to be disconnected from my body in the bedroom and just feel like, okay, this is how you do A, B, or C, like,
Yep.
but
Same.
now it's more like when I feel my mind wandering or like, do I look cute? Like, like all
Yep.
these questions that come up, right? It's just like I have to take a deep breath and return to my body and be like, how do I feel? How do I want to feel? How do I want to move in this moment? And it
Hmm.
is like a dance, and it's just so much more beautiful that way. And I
Hmm.
feel like there's always these metaphors, right? Or the correlation between life and the bedroom. It's just like how we do one
Yes.
thing is how we do everything.
Hmm.
And also
Absolutely.
another tab that opened when we were talking about this is embodying. So like embodying an archetype, or embodying, let's say you really want to be something, and you kind of act as if you like,
Hmm.
what would so and so do in this situation, and like you
Hmm.
can visualize it, and then you can just embody that. You could just be like, okay, I'm going to take this energy and I'm going to roll with it, and this is who I am today. And it's fun, and it works for me.
Yep, absolutely. I am still practicing that. I feel like
I think we're
I
going to always do that.
Yeah.
Like that's how humans work. That's how we work.
I'm just like constantly like, who am I being right now? Who am I being right
Mm,
now? To have to like shift back into like the version I want to be.
mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Cause yeah, the habitual subconscious, it
Yeah.
just keeps going on autopilot. And I'm like, well, no, let's change that a little bit.
Yeah. So I was reading a book today, and one of the questions was like, what would you like to see shifted in your life? Is it a behavior? They had like a list of things to choose from. And the thing that came to my mind when I tuned in was joy. I want more joy. Like, I just want to
Hmm.
be able to feel free and safe to express. And the book had me picture like a kind of like how it was and how I want it to be. And so
Hmm.
I was picturing someone who rocks out in their car and turns up the music and just sings along, even if they don't
Yeah.
know the words all the way. And even if the other car people are going to be like, what's happening? Like, what's going on over
Hmm.
there? And you're just like singing your boy bands. And yeah,
Yep,
I don't know.
totally.
So
That
that's what I was
is.
picturing. And it was fun. And I don't care who thinks it's weird.
Exactly. Yes, definitely. It feels like it's self-expression at its finest when you're expressing with joy. It's so
Mm.
magnetic and contagious in the best way.
And you know what else is magnetic too? When someone is vulnerable and like cries, like, or
Yep.
just like allows themselves to be upset about something instead of
Yep.
saying, oh, it's fine.
Because we know
I
it's
feel
not,
like,
so just tell us.
yeah, I feel like that can break down walls so fast, because then the person who's witnessing the breakdown could be like, wow, I've been there. Like, I know, like, and
Yeah.
it's incredibly connective. And I don't know, I want a world where we all feel safe and free to express whatever we're feeling, at like to let the emotions flow through and not always
Hmm.
have to be on cloud nine, and
Yes.
obviously not always being upset. Like, just letting the emotions flow through us instead of like identifying with them and just being like, oh, I am this now constantly. Like, that's not life.
Exactly. Yep.
And The Gifts of Imperfection, by Brene Brown, that was like my first introduction to that way of thinking. That was a helpful thing to try on. Was her just like, it's okay to be perfectly imperfect. And I was just like, okay, yeah.
Sounds great. Yes. I have not read that one. I think it was Daring Greatly, I think is what the one I
Mm,
read from her. But
mhm.
yeah, she's
And then she has
wonderful.
the Atlas of the Heart. And I watched it on my big screen. I don't remember what streaming platform, but look for Atlas of the Heart. It's like a series where she has like a group of people, and she's just basically just telling stories, relatable stories, and like people in the audience tell stories too. And what Atlas of the Heart was about, like identifying and naming emotions so that you can
Hmm.
do something with them. And because once you can name something, like once you can name it something like bittersweet, that was one of the words that she had. And then people gave examples. It was just such a connective thing, just like we all
Hmm.
we all have these, and like that's like life, yin and yang, right? Bittersweet. And those are
Hmm.
my favorite movies. My kid calls it happy
Same.
sad. Mom, let's watch a happy sad movie. I'm like, okay, let's do that. Because
Absolutely.
we want to feel it all.
Hmm. Yep. I will actively seek those out just because I'm like, I need I need to cry and laugh and be really immersed in the feeling.
Hmm. And so, like, the body is the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind is where the feelings and the emotions reside. And so, that is connecting to the body too, even if it's not necessarily always like somatic and dancy and all that. Like, there
Hmm.
are different ways to connect to the body. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to look the same for you as it does for me. Like, everyone can figure out a way that works for them and try on new ideas. Is there anything
Hmm.
else that any helpful things that you've tried on through the years that have helped you connect to your body?
Mm, Yoga was the first. Actually, yoga, was it the first? It was running because I've always been a runner. And when I started to train for my first marathon 1,000 years ago, I did not want to follow a training schedule. That stressed me out. It made me feel very tense and nervous, and it made me feel like, oh, I've got to like do it perfectly. And it set off all the perfectionism squirrels, and I'm like, we're not doing that. So, and I'd already been a runner. So I already had like a lot of experience, like over 10 years of experience. So I'm like, okay, instead of taking 8 weeks to train for this, I'm going to take 12. And I'm going to do exactly what my body wants me to do. So I knew I wanted to run at least 3 days a week. I'm like, we're doing at least that short, medium, long run. And I would increase my mileage. I would literally wake up on a day that I was going to run. And I'm like, how many we doing today? And I would hear the number and I'd go run and it would be great. 9 times out of 10, it would be great. So not only did I enjoy the training process, like there was no part of it that I hated because I did exactly what my body wanted to do, but I enjoyed racing as well. Like it was just such a fun experience. And I've kept that going since. I just like, how many are we doing today? Great. So like I said, I just don't train like normal marathon runners, but I'm also not trying to win an Olympic medal in marathon. I'm not trying, I'm just out here running because I like running. And then with yoga, similar thing, started doing yoga, not a flexible person, still not, became a yoga teacher. And one of the most valuable things my teacher shared with us was an advanced practice is knowing when to push and when to back off. She said so many people want to push and push and push, and then they end up getting injured. And that literally was probably one of the most valuable things I think anyone has ever said, because you take that on the mat and you take it off the mat. And everybody has their different thresholds for when they need to push and what that looks like, and when to hold back and what that looks like. So it was those two things. And then my most favorite modality to use when it comes to making decisions is you have like a subject that you've got to make a decision on, and when you think about like, okay, I'm going to move forward with this decision, so I'm going to say yes to this thing. Tune into whether or not your body feels contracted or expansive. And then if you say no, like I'm not going to do this thing, expansive, contracted, that will tell you what will be right for you, regardless of what your brain says, because your logic is going to come up with all kinds of options. But your body's going to know the best thing. And if you're like, I don't hear anything, you keep practicing until
Yeah,
you do, because you will.
there was this one session I did. It was actually online, and the
Mm-hmm.
lady had a list of questions, and I was supposed to stand sideways. And she would ask a question, and if the answer was no, my body would just very slightly go back a little bit, and if the answer
Mm-hmm.
was yes, my body would go forwards, like involuntarily.
Yes.
And it uncovered some subconscious beliefs that I didn't know was there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like one of them, I don't remember the specifics of the question, but it was like, do you believe that if you're like a more heavier set person that you'll be safer out in the world? And my answer was yes. And I was just like, whoa. So
Oh
I
my
did a session
gosh.
on that to like clear that up. But like,
Oh
yeah,
my
some of these are
goodness.
just hidden, and it's just like, wow.
Yep.
I thought that was just so cool.
It is. It is
um
fascinating.
um Yoga with Adriene, she always is like, find what
Mm,
feels good,
yes. I love
and
her.
it's just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we need to live life.
Yes.
I love that you did like your own thing with the marathon running, and like
Mm-hmm.
didn't do it everyone else's way. I mean, who remembers math class, growing up, or like who had to do it the teacher's way, who had to show their
Yep.
work? Like
Oh my
we
gosh.
get to the answer a different way. Our minds work
Yes.
differently. We don't all do the same thing. We
Mm-hmm.
really need to give ourselves permission to do it our way,
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, the
because
showing the
that's
work.
where like that's where the magic is, right? Like
Yes.
we all have our individual art and our, how we like to dress and our makeup and our jewelry and what have you, like all of the different ways we do things.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the magic is. Like that's why we're here, to
Yes,
express how we
exactly.
feel. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
I think that's all that's coming up for me with the connecting to the body. But it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, it's such a big topic, and
Yes. Yep.
I
There's
I
so many
want
things.
yeah, I just want to share like what I've learned with everyone, and I have a playlist that I use in the bedroom, whether it's by myself or with someone else, and it's really fun. So if you want it, just message me and ask me, and I will send it out.
Yay. I love
Yay for a
that.
freebie! Spotify
Always.
playlist.
Yes, definitely. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We will see y'all next time.
Okay, bye bye.